Welcome back to Project Command. On today's episode, I'm excited to welcome Scott Payne. Scott is a PMP certified project development expert with more than 15 years of experience designing and implementing Lean Six Sigma and project management programs across a wide range of industries, including Fortune 500 organizations. He's the founder and lead instructor at All In PMP Prep, where he's helped hundreds of professionals not only learn their or earn their PMP, but actually understand how to apply project management principles in the real world. And on a personal note, Scott has taught me a tremendous amount about project management, especially how to think clearly, structure problems, and apply these principles beyond any single industry or textbook. Today, we're going to talk about project management concepts and how they translate across different environments. We'll talk about what actually matters in practice and how leaders can use these tools to deliver better projects. Scott, thanks for being here, man.
What is up, Peter? I am pumped. Let's talk it out, brother.
Yeah. Well, look, I have a ton of stuff I want to get to with you, but I want to start with just a little bit of a background on you. So if you don't mind, just share with the audience a little bit about your story and maybe introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, it's great to meet everybody. I've been following this podcast since the beginning, and I love what you guys are doing. And my background, I'm not a firefighter. I didn't work in that neighborhood. I was an engineer by trade or whatever, I guess. I went to engineering school, and I was an operating engineer. So I went to work on ships, like a merchant mariner. So I was at sea working with my hands. I'm not good with my hands, man. I'm good at seeing systems, but my dad and my brother are good with their hands. So I suffered through that for a long time. I was doing my best. Operating engineer. Then I went to work at manufacturing places, like building ships and submarines and stuff, Newport News shipbuilding, and was better at that. Not the hands-on stuff, but seeing systems, helping people. And I am now I lead a organization that builds software, we build apps, and we teach primarily PMP and other things. So we teach people how to be better project managers, and how I got there we can talk about, but really it's making kind of clarity out of chaos is what I got good at the shipyard, where seeing things on the floor, seeing things in challenging environments where people are beating their head against the wall and saying dude, I'm not good with my hands, but I'm good with my brain and systems. Let me see if I can find a way to make their lives better. And that's what I got good at. And that led me to where I am now. Yeah.
Man, I love that. And actually, that is exactly what I want to talk about. But I mean, I love that the bringing order to chaos. It's so interesting. I've talked a lot about how, fire administration, a lot of times, we all came up in the fire department running calls, going to emergencies. And unfortunately, that's where we're the most comfortable. And so sometimes, we tend to make everything feel like an emergency because that's our comfort zone. But so anyways, I like that. That kind of stood out to me. But I do want to
before we
talk.
go too deep, I know you got questions.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's one thing that I realized as well. I don't want to throw you off, dude.
No,
but
you're good.
It's when
Please
I
do.
stopped trying to change the chaos to be simpler is when I started things different. So I can't. The fire, I don't know anything, and I'm scared of blood. So, okay. We've learned a couple of things about me. I'm not good with my hands. I'm scared of blood. All right. So there are good things about me, whatever. But you can't change the chaos, but we can change how we deal with it. And so that's kind of the world that I live in now, where we build software products and we train people to run projects and stuff. The chaos is always going to exist. It's how we deal with it. And so that's what we've gotten good at, how we deal with the chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty good segue actually, because I do want to talk about your company. That's actually how I found you was I was getting ready to take my PMP exam. I went through the program at UC Irvine, which I think it was good. I don't want to, be too hard on it, but it didn't really give me what I needed to pass the PMP exam. And so I was listening to just random podcasts because I love podcasts. And I came across yours and I was like, man, I got to get into this program. And so that was my kind of introduction to your program. But I wonder if you can just explain what made you want to start your company and a little bit about specifically what your company does.
Sure. And we'll go back a little bit. So I never wanted to be a PMP instructor. That wasn't I woke up in the morning and was man, that'd be awesome. Who knew that was a thing, right? And so the reason why how I got here was after I went to the shipyard, I was a consultant on the road doing improvement projects. So I was at the shipyard, I was I'm helping people do my best, learn how to make processes more efficient, have less stress in their lives, be more predictable, safer, all that jazz in challenging environments. And I was that's cool. let me see if I can take it up a level. So I was like, grass is always greener kind of thinking. Let me be a traveling consultant and do that for like different organizations. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I got a job traveling around the country doing that. So it's cool. And that was fun because tons of different scenarios, you know, but the traveling wears on you when you have, young family. So I had to get off the road, and to get a job, I had to get a PMP. Didn't know it from Adam. Didn't know anything about it, but I was like, got to get off the road, whatever. I'll do it. And then figured it, like went through a boot camp, and it was terrible. It was more like ivory tower stuff, theoretical, and it didn't have like a human connection. So I got frustrated, a little bit down. My wife kicked me in the butt and said, like, either figure it out or stop whining. I'm cool with either. Just do it. And she also said, hey, if you said you're good at fixing stuff, fix this. Okay, cool. And so I taught myself. And then over the years of like being at home, working through it, I started to teach my friends and do other things, and then got involved with the company and started building stuff and teaching other people. So I'm not classically trained and those things. So really that's how my company manifested, was trying to help other people break down these apparently complicated topics in a way that they can understand and use, because that's what I did. Take chaos, try to make it simpler, learn through the process. And that's how we have, put ourselves in the place where we are now. Or that's our mantra. That's what we stick to all the time. Yeah. I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. When I was discussing your program with my boss, I think I said, this guy was created in a laboratory to teach firefighters how to be PMPs, because I
think it's you. That's not me, dude. But go ahead. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Because that's so, and I really relate to, and I've had a lot of people now in the fire service reach out and say, like, how do you get your PMP? And when I think back on how I started, one of the things that really sticks with me is when I first got into the UC Irvine program, I got the textbook. I can't remember the name. Is like Wysocki is the author or whatever. Okay. And I was flipping through it, and it felt like I was reading the manual for a nuclear power plant. I was like, this is, and I like to think that, hey, I got reading comprehension is something I, usually thrive in, but this didn't make any sense. A lot like what you're saying. And so, yeah, anyways, when I found your program, I did appreciate it. It was like, hey, listen, you could go way deep on all these theoretical things, but let me just explain, at the level you need to know what these concepts actually mean. And so I really appreciated that. I really resonate with that story. So that's cool.
I know you're the boss and you're the leader of this thing, but like, why did you want to get your PMP to begin with? Because like a lot of the reason I had to get off the road, and then I was like, oh, this is actually highlighting things that like I'm not doing well, and then I can tune myself up on. So like winner. Like when you went to the class, like why did you want to do? What was it? Just like you like letters and you wanted more behind your name, or like what made you want to do it, dude?
Yeah, firefighting is an industry where people could not care less about the letters after your name.
Okay, so cool. That's good, because I'm that kind of guy too. So
for me, what it was kind of like I got into this position as I got promoted to captain. And I found myself managing a lot of projects, but I was reading a book, and I can't remember the name of it now, but it was talking about how you should invest in yourself. And I was like, I am going to go back to school. And I talked to my wife about it, and I was thinking about just going and getting, like a sort of like a leadership certification or something like that. Like a lot of these colleges will do like Columbia or Harvard or wherever will say, hey, we got a 6-month leadership development program. And I was like, well, I don't know, maybe that's right. But my wife was like, that's, it's pretty generic, and, it's not really what you're doing right now. You're doing projects. Why don't you go learn about projects? And I was like, you know what? You're right. That is extremely wise. That is what I'm doing right now. Projects. Like, I think I should just go learn about projects. And so I didn't know much about it. My sister had gone to business school. She got her MBA. And so I was asking her, and she mentioned that she was a PMP, and she told me a little bit about it. And I was like, well, how hard is this exam? Can I just go take it right now and pass it? She's like, probably not. You either know what a Gantt chart is or you don't. So I'd recommend not doing that. And that's kind of led me on this winding road, which eventually led me to your program and getting my PMP through that. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version.
Awesome. And I think that it's really cool that like there is an end in mind. Like you're like, hey, I'm good at my professional, like what you do, fire department stuff, out of my expertise. But like you wanted to, there's areas to like get things done. I could do that better. And you're trying to invest in yourself. And I think if I was going to leave anything with anybody, like even early on, it's like talents. There's a concept, like, I don't know who came up with it, or I learned it from, like talent stacking. Like say I was an engineer, right? Or I was a good lean guy, like making processes better. But you try to find other areas where you can like tune up your skills to bring breadth and like depth to what you're doing. Like, would it be better to get more things done? Like you've talked to me in the past about how it helps, like you guys can do more programs, more projects, more things to deliver more on the bang for the buck for the governments that you guys work for. And like leading projects is a great way. Like, so that's a brick in your wall. Or like learning how to communicate better, awesome. Learning how to negotiate, awesome. Learning how to manage junk, awesome. Like those are bricks in the wall. So like anytime anybody comes to me and is like, yo, should I do project management? It's like, I don't know. What's the problem that you're having? Would it be better to get stuff done? Then we should learn how to do it. And so that's the kind of like understanding why we're doing it will help us guide on the path of like accomplishing said thing.
And I mean that's right. And like the thing that I also kind of popped into my head while you were saying that is, it's not like if you don't become a PMP, you're not going to have to manage projects. It's not like the projects aren't there. They're there no matter what. You can either learn a sort of like an academic / practical way to manage them or not.
Yeah.
But regardless of whether you do or don't, the projects are still there. And that's kind of what stood out to me is like, man, I'm going to manage these projects one way or the other. And I just don't like being bad at stuff. I always like, on the fire ground, the last, assignment I had before I got promoted, I was with an unbelievably great crew of firefighters. And, I was lucky enough to get to be their lieutenant, and I learned a lot more from them than they learned from me. But I always took a lot of pride that when we showed up, people knew that we were about our business. And it's tough to go from that environment where you feel really confident and people show up, or you show up and people know like these guys, this is a serious, these guys are the not effing around crew. And then to go to the project management world up in sort of the administrative side of the fire department, and then to feel like a fish out of water and to not feel like that, hey, they'll turn to me with the heavy work. So I don't like that. And so I wanted, if the projects are there anyway, and I'm going to have to do them, I'm going to learn how to do them better than anybody else. That was like kind of one of my drivers for that.
I like that. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like we're investment managers, like not like a T. Rowe Price kind of thing, but like we're using our time, our effort, and our people's time and effort and colleagues to put into making the world a little bit better, whatever we're trying to do. And so it's like, can we help grease the wheels a little bit and unify how like the geniuses that we work with get things done? And so at the end of the day, I think some of the things that hold people back is thinking that like, yo, we've got to be fancy. We've got to be perfect. We've got to be, experts at the beginning. I mean, that's like the antithesis of progress, like in my mind. Like nobody's judging you. You probably don't need to be as good as you need to do. And the only way to get going is to get going now and to set up small little learning cycles. And so like when the way we teach, it's like, yo, explain it the best you can now. That's cool. Work it through. Like, let's just be honest with each other. Nobody's judging. And then from like a business standpoint, like starting a company is no different than like starting a project out there or setting up a department or whatever, learning a new skill. It's like, what do I need to do? Like the best time to start is right now. Like, don't bite off more than you can chew. Like that's the way we get things rolling, learning wise or company wise or project wise. It's like, let's start small. Let's get going today.
What do you mean
that's how we go.
What do you mean by a learning cycle? What does that mean when you say that?
What do you think it means?
To me, the reason I wanted to ask about it is because like I view it like I really it kind of rang true for me because the most important things I've learned, I went totally all the way in for 2 months, and then I spent several months practicing it after learning it, and then 3 or 4 months where I wasn't really thinking about anything. Then I found another thing that I was really interested in, went very deep on it for a couple months, practiced it for a few more months. And so that's why I was hoping that you could maybe give me what do you mean when you say that?
No problem. Like, okay. When I think learning cycle, it's like, if you were to go and like say, hey, we have this perfect plan that we're going to work through and like nose to the grindstone, whatever, work. And then you just like lose yourself in like the efforts and you're like, man, it's 9 months since we started. How are we doing? Like there hasn't been like what they call in like Scrum was, here's the thing. Like when we build software and stuff, it's a very chaotic environment. Not in the sense that like people are like crazy, but we don't know exactly what's going to resonate with the customer. So the best lesson that I can relate to people is let's not kid ourselves and think that we have the perfect understanding of the customer's needs or what's going to work at the beginning. We believe certain things are going to work and certain, things are going to hit. But the only way to figure it out if they do and to get better is to set up like, hey man, what can we build for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks? Whatever. The easy thing to do is say, we'll just build, perfect, deliver it, get it better over time. That cheats us from that hard look in the mirror of like, yo, did what we build work? Are our processes effective? And how can we get better? So when I say learning cycle, it's always, you can't go like a half hour, but I mean, shorter is better than longer. So let's just say, what can I get done in the next 2 weeks? What is my team doing? What am I doing? Can we like pause, say, yo, did we get it done or not? How did it go? Do they like it? Does it work? We're reflecting on it. We're putting our eyes on it. And then we're pausing and saying, we are a machine of progress. How are we working together? If we think of ourselves as gears and pumps and motors and pistons and junk like that, if that's how we think, it's like, yo, how can we tune this engine? So learning cycle is just setting up these little, they call them time boxes in Agile. That just means, hey, you got 2 weeks. We're going to stop at the end and we're going to breathe, review, do a retrospective, do it again. And it's like practicing to be better, where I don't need to be better, perfect. I don't need to be perfect now. I'll shut up in 2 seconds. 52 weeks a year. I think that's how it works. 26 2-week sprints. If we put that, hey, we build stuff to get better and we reflect on it and tweak the engine, dude, we can get real better real quick over 26 of those little thingies.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks for explaining that. Well, that I think is a good transition here to, you've taught, do you have the number off the top of your head? How many PMPs have you taught? Do you know?
I don't know the exact numbers, like easy 5,000-ish, probably.
Wow, I said several hundred in my introduction.
Yeah, I mean, technically that is several hundred.
Okay, you're right. It's several
add a
hundred.
zero and we're still there. Yeah. Several hundred.
Well, so, we'll talk about like some of the things that are, that work really well. But when you're teaching people how to manage projects or, sometimes I'll describe it as how to organize your work, what are the things that they really struggle to pick up and how do you get around that?
Okay, that's a big question, but we'll try to break it down. So the first thing that I try to do is to say, you have to put yourself into the story, like make yourself the hero. Okay. Because like the first challenge that I have in like teaching them is that they think it's something that is not their life. Like, oh, that's just what corporate America does. Or that's what the computer people do. Or that's what the blah, blah, blahs do. No, dude. They ain't no different than you. They're not robots. You're not a robot, I don't think. Like come back. So the first thing is to put themselves in so that they can feel. And why I believe this is important. Yet again, not a classically trained instructor, not a classically trained project management person, but I think I'm pretty good at both. Like, is like put yourself in the pain. So if you sit in there and you go day to day, what am I feeling? Like I got a group of people and I'm either on the team or leading the team or somewhere around the team. What are we facing? Oh, stuff takes too long. Oh, we deliver stuff that doesn't work. Oh, we never get done on budget. Oh, we do whatever. Sweet. Now we're on the path of discovery. Okay. What did you do? And then did it work or not? And then we start to say, hey, start at the beginning. Like, how did you frame this thing up? How did you get going? And then we say, well, I did this, that, and the other thing. Cool. It's you. You feel the pain. Now you got to say like, hey, man, we're going to be okay with the baby being ugly, meaning us. Let's go and look at what the fancy people say. Like, let's break it down to say, hey, they think there should be a project charter. What the heck is a project charter? Well, then you start breaking it down in common people language. I don't have a lot of skills in life, but one of them is trying to take fancy stuff and make it simpler. Okay? So you should do the same thing. I'm speaking to the royal you, whoever that is. It's like, yo, the charter is, and you say it in your own words, trying to say, I want to understand what it is, what purpose it has, and how it might help me. Can't remember who told me, but I think it's like Mike Hannon, one of the dudes that wrote he writes fancy books. He's a super smart guy. He's like, you have to say, we start to defend our position always. Well, that's not the way I do it. You have to say like, well, what if I did that? What if I tried that? What if this could be useful over in my neighborhood? Because like what I learned from like the software folk, and I'm a software guy now, but like I'm not a technical guy. Like I say, well, what if I tried that over here? What would happen? Then I start opening up the door. I know what my pain is. These potential things have solved problems in other areas. What if they were used in my neighborhood? How would that work? And then I start a path of discovery to think through it. And it's like, dude, it is like making sausage. It's like an iterative, I think it's a incremental and iterative process where you get better, better, better over time. Does that make any sense?
No, it does make sense. Actually, I really like that. And now that I'm thinking about it, I want to make sure I ask you. I've got a thing
Yeah.
I'm working on to open up a fire department PMO, first in the nation that we're doing.
Okay.
I want to talk to you about that on this episode before I forget. We'll get to that at the
Okay.
end, though.
You know,
Okay, so what are the things that you teach somebody about managing a project, and the light bulb goes off, and they go, man, I got to start doing that right now. Or I guess a better way to put that is, what's the most critical stuff that you think you teach people that they can, operationalize in their industry?
okay. Let's think about it. So it depends on the industry, but I think that there's a couple core tenets that are good across the world. The number one thing is transparency in what we're doing and what our progress is. So creating transparency about like what is the process and how we're doing is like an agile principle. Agile is like a way to succeed in a chaotic environment, being flexible and adaptive as we go. So one of the tenets there, it's all about transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Okay. So anytime we start to implement something, you want to start smaller and like build the system from small to big instead of big to small. Okay. So when we think about when we're trying to do it, like the thing that the light bulb is like, yo, if we had better transparency to what work's underway, how we do work, and how we review and check it, like, would that help us out? Now I'm speaking in generalities because we're not like in a PMP class or learning about Agile. Well, we are, but you don't know yet. But like, that's what I'm trying to do. Transparency to what work exactly it is happening and what the problems are so that we can start attacking those problems one by one. Transparency, inspect what's going well and going bad, and adaptation. What are we going to do about it? That's the game. That's the game. It's over and over and over and over. And you'll never get great. You'll never get as great as you think. I don't mean that in a negative sense. As soon as you think you're great, new problems come. That's the beautiful thing about like life, not to be a, bookstore philosopher or dime store philosopher. It's that like every time we solve a problem in project management, it's like another door opens up. And in life, hey, you learn how to set up this team and organize that. Okay, now there's another set of problems with like my initial problems in like software teams was like, how the heck do I get them to actually build something that works? That's the first problem I had. I was lighting money on fire like it was going out of style. Like I would get to the end and they wouldn't be done. They wouldn't be done. So my number one thing is like, I dream at night, dude, if I could just build something that worked, that wasn't buggy, that I would be in euphoria land. Once we got to that point, and I'll teach you how to do it, then it's like, oh, there's new problems. How do I develop bigger teams? How do I scale our systems? How do I do stuff? Now I do that. And then now there's new problems to build up. There's always new problems, but you can't open the door. That's why start small, do it now, reflect on it. Ish.
A piece of advice you gave me a while ago when I was just getting started trying to introduce project management into the fire service was you have to systemize. And I'll admit that I don't think at that time I fully knew what you meant by that. But over time, I've really come to understand that, a lot of times the trap is you find someone who's really good at something and they do a good job. They continuously do a good job. They make it look easy. Then they leave and someone comes in and they can't repeat those results. And it turns out it was superstar dependent. One person was good. They were able to produce good results. And then when they left, their talent went with them. And I've come to understand that systems are what we create so that you don't necessarily need a superstar at the tiller, that the system is created so that anyone can be or generate those superstar level results. But I wonder if, like, what are your thoughts on systemizing and how you have systemized things, or just really whatever you want to tell us about systemizing?
That's fine. Yeah. I think like that is true. If we don't have a system, we can't improve upon it because we're dealing with relative chaos, and we are dealing with one point of failure, like you mentioned, like a superstar. They're going to get tired. They're going to take the weekend off. They're going to leave to have another job, different challenge, whatever it is, and then we're back to zero. And so the challenge in that is like, oh my God, I don't want to disrupt this person. Or it's kind of like a hero complex where, I mean, like you, me, and the people out there have probably been that point of excellence or whatever, where it's like, no one can do it as good as us. Our stuff is art, not science. Like, this is the way I roll. Don't try to put bounds on me. But like, there are things that we can say, this is how it works, that we can start nailing it down so that we can create uniformity without like rigid discipline in the sense that like everybody has to be a robot. But like, what is the process that goes through there? So like, if people are out there listening, I think one of the things that like to take from any conversation or this one is like, you start finding breadcrumbs. Like you said, Peter, like you're going out and like, oh, I'm going to nerd out or learn out on one thing. Like one of the things initially that I think that you guys should go out there and like search and learn is like lean, Lean. I know you have to spell lean, but like lean is like a philosophy that was propagated, you know, from the United States to Japan back in the day when after the World War, after WW2, if you will, to make their manufacturing be more effective or get it back up and running. And it's all about identifying what is the process, like making sure we understand it. Like, how did things run? What is the waste inside of it? And how do you see the waste? How do you teach people to see waste? And how do you focus attention at the bottom possible level to say, what can we do to make our lives a little bit better every day? And so it's like small incremental improvement. So the reason why we want to set processes up is so that it gives us something to improve. So that we don't keep banging our head against the wall as hard tomorrow as we did today. And if we start small and work us on things that really are like a burr in our saddle, then it's going to put the power in the people's hands. That everybody, it doesn't come from centralized command, it comes from the floor. And that's the way we want it. And then you have a more resilient, robust system. Easy to say, hard to do, but worthwhile.
Yeah. And that's what you were doing in your previous life, right? Process optimization?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so like, even in the statement, process optimization, I've said that a lot of time, it's like that there is a perfect system available there. Like I even have like thought through like those words, like, yes, trying to optimize makes it feels weird to me. Like that, like, it's like, there are best ways of doing stuff, but it's just like constant process improvement. And sometimes you break the system. You're like, we've got it to a point where we're operating here. And then when you're there, you're like, dude, could we break this thing to make it even better? And so, yeah, I was working processes where it's like, hey, yo, I see that I was working in manufacturing environments. I'll go down like, I take the learner's perspective. Like, yo, act like you're 7. How does it work? Why do you do this? What goes on? What's the next step? Why do you do that? And this dude does that. And what decisions are you making? Not in a judgment sense, but like that's how you start to diagram or map processes. Like when I worked on a ship, one of the things as a cadet that they send you out there for a year, which is magical, is they have all these pipes, all these pumps, motors, and stuff like that, and they say, "Yo, go map or diagram the systems." And you're like, well, "How do I do that?" They go, "Well, you got fingers and a pencil and a piece of paper and a flashlight. Trace it out." And so you go down there like a crazy person and you like, oh, there's a pump here. Let me draw a pump thingy. There's a line here that goes to a valve. Okay, there's a valve. What's that deal? And you go and you map the whole thing. Same thing when you start to document processes. It's an iterative process. Do not say like, yo, I'm going to write it down and that's the perfect thing. You document and say like, hey, do this, then they do this, then they do this, then they do this. And there's a concept called like nimawashe. I don't speak Japanese, but they tell me it's like a process that's like you pitch around ideas. You're showing respect for other people to be like, yo, this is what I understand happens. Is that right? And they're like,
Yep.
Kind of. But in this situation, we do it differently. Oh, sweet. So you're getting a unified look where we're all starting to get our hands into the game so we can start massaging it. So processes are important so that we can say, is this the way we do it now? What could we do better? Where should we focus? And so you're just getting the team on the improvement cycle. That's all you're doing.
If there's a fire chief listening to this and they're thinking, I want to optimize the processes in my administrative section, which I can tell you after talking to a lot of fire chiefs is, we all can kind of see there's some economic headwinds coming. Most people I talk to are kind of battening down the hatches. They know there's not a lot more money coming. And so they're trying to squeeze more efficiency and they're thinking, okay, there's a lot of processes that run, and my people have to spend their time, and we have to spend our money doing them. And maybe there's a process that takes 8 hours, and it could take 6. And so, if you were talking to a fire chief and they were saying, Scott, how do I optimize the processes that I'm doing? Just at a basic level, what would you tell them?
Right. Okay. So here's what we would do initially. We would our number one goal is not, I know I said start. That I've said that 1,000 billion times so far. Before we do that, I want to make sure that we are focusing on what really matters for them. That's what I would want to do first, because starting is important and starting is fun and good and tough. But working on the wrong things to make the wrong things faster and better is not good. Like one of the principles of Agile is like to not optimize what shouldn't be optimized. Okay. So the first thing that I would have them do is say, like, what are you really measured by and what really matters? Like, what are the twos and fews metrics that matter? Okay. So they'd say the things that really we want to improve on is this metric, and this metric. And maybe they're not metrics in the sense of like we can measure them, but it's like we want our people to have more time to go out and do X than Y. Whatever it is, the 3 better than 10. What are the things that matter? Then we start the conversation to go, okay, what are the things that affect that? So we start walking ourselves down. Okay, these are the processes that go into that one thing. Like the more time the guys have to do work on the floor from a manufacturing sense, or to go out there and work project in y'all sense, or to be on calls, or, we can take more calls or whatever it is there. Okay, what are the things that affect that? And then now we've got a fertile area that's worth our time. So we said what metrics matter, what processes or things affect it. And then we just grab a hold of that thing and we go to the floor and we go and observe, go and see. We involve people in the process and we try to understand what's the current state of what's happening. So we might be mapping out processes. And I go, I'm kind of nerdy, but we could talk through this. Or we could have people do stuff like I've even done weird stuff like, your job is to do X. Let's figure out how much of your day you're doing that and not doing that. It's like just write down every 15 minutes, like what you're doing or whatever. So you can start identifying where waste is. So I want to know what process is there. And I want to know what the waste that's keeping me from doing my thing. So you can either diagram like things that are pulling me away from work, things that slow me down, things that hurt me. And so that what we're trying to identify is areas where we can have fertile opportunities to take advantage of. Once we do that, then we can start like spin up a little initiative. Some things are just like, just do it. Oh, we can make these changes. That's cool. We could, hey, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to find all the ways that we can make this process better. We could do that. Or we could start a longer initiative. So what I want to do is find fertile ground that matters. So when we touch buttons and pull levers and do things, it's actually going to pay off for the big person. And the
What if I told you that I want, as a fire chief, I want to spend less overtime? Because I hear this all the time. We are spending too much money on overtime. And I said, Scott, help me spend less overtime.
Cool. Sweet. What are you spending money on now? Like, so what are we doing overtime for?
Overtime is things like minimum staffing. We need 100 people on the fire trucks. We only have 96. We got to hire 4 people back for minimum staffing. Or, we have a project that gets started, but it doesn't get funded properly, so it's going to be paid for on overtime. Or, hey, we're doing a community engagement program, and we got to spend 16 hours of overtime to teach, firefighting training to a high school program or whatever. So like a lot of unfunded things get run off of overtime, and also minimum staffing gets run off of overtime.
Cool. And so like just to start the like thought exercise and to go through that, obviously I don't know your business from anything, but it's like anytime, it's like, I would probably ask, what are we doing that is not exactly what you want them to be working on? Like if it was your money, what are they doing that is not that thing that you're having to pay for? So like, and then we get into, well, I don't know, or they're doing this or that. We need to go a level deeper where we're having your people, back to the thing I just talked about. If we're spending a bunch of time doing that, do we have more projects what is pulling them away from it? Is there something that we could pull away, or is everything we're doing what they call value added? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe our staffing's wrong, but I probably wouldn't go higher first. I would try to find things that are pulling us away. And it may be, hey, when I'm working, I get 73 calls. When I'm working, like this happens here, or I have to, what they call like dual monitor this thing where I'm working this job and working that side. We're trying to find things that are stealing our time. There is another concept as we're trying to just drop nickels and dimes on everything is like, it's called like context switching. Like if I'm working on something, trying to write something, build something, do anything, if I have to like, oh, do another thing while I'm doing it, or I start that, or I check my phone, or I do that, your focus is going from what you're trying to laser focus on and do to like this other thing. And the assumption in people is historically is that like myself included, multitasking makes you like, oh, look at me, I'm fancy, it's good. In reality, it kills the overall flow and productivity of our activities. So if we're trying to say, hey man, I'm spending too much time on overtime, okay, dig it. What are we actually spending our time on? Are there things that are pulling our attention this way and that way? Because every time we change our focus from here to there to here to there, there is like an automatic readjustment, like a camera readjusting, like, oh, let me get the focus going. What the heck was I working on? What was I thinking? Where was I? You'll lose a little bit of the genius and the flow going. Not that you can like isolate down and never just like sit in a box and work on stuff. That's not reality usually. But like, what can we eliminate as waste? So before I want to add more labor and more money or ask for it, I want to cut out the fat without hurting the people. And in a sense, you cut out the fat and make their life easier. They're going to do a better job theoretically. And they're going to be engaged to be like, dude, this guy actually listens to me and I can do it. So look for the fat. Let's attack it.
Yeah, man, I feel like I'm just getting a lot of great stuff here. And one concept that I remember learning about,
Yeah.
in the, PMP course, and didn't seem like it was that big of a deal at the time. It just felt like something you learn for the PMP exam. But the more I have talked to people about this, the more they go, oh my God, that's it. That's the thing.
Okay.
And it's technical debt. And
Oh,
what I have found is in the fire service, we take on a lot of projects. And because we have so much stuff going on, the things we want to do, the things we have to do, budget processes, recruitment, running calls, whatever, we take on so much stuff. Our eyes are bigger than our stomach. And we manage projects and we run them to about 90% done. And we forget to update the policy. Maybe we don't train people all the way, and we don't identify, hey, when this piece of equipment is stored, here's how we want it stored. Here's who's in charge of replacing it. And so what happens is we check that project off and we go done and we move on, but it's only 90% done. And so work is kind of trickling in from those unfinished projects. And so you have the things you're now working on because you're like, all right, that's done. Time to take on the next thing. But work is still sort of trickling in from those unfinished things. What are your just high level thoughts on technical debt? And, that's kind of my thought process
yeah, that's
around
good.
it.
So like, there's a couple different levels that I'm going for. So beautiful, dude. Like first thing is we steal from everybody, right? Ideas. So we steal, that's an agile concept, a software concept. So we steal that in a good sense. Technical debt means when we get to the end of 2 weeks of work, if something's like, the pressure on an agile team is like, dude, we're out of time in the 2 weeks. Yeah, it's pretty much done. Push it out, give it to the customer, get it going. We'll clean it up later. So that's the internal pressure that they're feeling. Oh God, I'm out of time. I didn't get it all the way done. I didn't double check it, lock it down, document it, do whatever, but it will work. Push it. And they make that sacrifice. I don't want to look like an idiot. They think so. I'll just push it and fix it later. So it's like hidden work. It's the devil, dude. So what that does is create rework. So we want to steal from them. They go like, dude, I have that problem too. I start on too much. I balance whatever. I got to take on less. I got to finish it completely and lock it down. It's like putting all the lug nuts on a wheel and just like getting them all to the right, tension so that the wheel don't fall off. So that's a really good thing to say. Yo, if I want to go in my neighborhood, like maybe fire chiefs or whomever's listening, it's like, we're going to chew on this technical debt concept. And we're going to use that as an opportunity to see how tight we are and get better. Because I guarantee you, me, you, and everybody, me worse than everybody probably, that I am starting 1,000 things and not finishing them because I'll figure it out later. It's sexier to start new stuff than it is to finish.
Wow.
That's the deal, dude. Like for
That's
whatever
the clip
reason,
right
it's more
there.
fun to... Yeah. More fun to start stuff than it is to finish. So our mantra, we got to like tattoo it on our arm. Stop starting, start finishing. That's the game. Stop starting, stop finish. What did I say? Stop starting, start finishing. And so the double concept is definition of done. Definition of done means anytime we do work, we do it to this level. We double check everything. We do that detailed stuff so that we can say it is D-O-N-E, done as in done. I mean, ain't got nothing else to do, done. That's the concept. So when my boys and girls build software at the end of the 2 weeks, they do not say it's done until all the work's done. The acceptance criteria, meaning how it should work, has been verified by them. Someone else on the team has gone through and blindly peer reviewed it. They ran it through the test. They checked it. They looked at the code. They're cool with it. You ain't got to know what the code is. I don't know either. Like, they have documented the code to say if somebody else picked it up, they could go in there and understand it. It's not like crazy, kind of like your policy thing. And then they've gotten me to approve it. It don't matter if we build a button, we build a fancy thing or something in between. Those 5 steps, and there's a couple more technical things that are, they set up automated tests to see if it breaks. Like, those things, don't matter what we build, have to be checked off. So technical debt is almost getting it done. It'll bite us in the butt later. Definition of done helps us like lock the nug nuts down, tight, however you spell that, tight all the way, so that when we finish it, we are done. So that when we hand it to the customer, put it in practice, implement a process, whatever you guys got to do, the next dude can pick it up, do it, work it, get it better.
Yeah, man, that's perfect. I feel like a lot of people are going to really benefit from that. I've talked to a lot of people in the fire service, and they say, yeah, for sure, that's a problem. So now the other side of that is, what do you do with the technical debt you do have? Like, let's say, your team is moving slower and slower and slower. And that's like, if you were to get this question on the PMP exam, it would say something like, you're on a team and this month you got this much done. The next month you got a little bit less done. The next month you got a little bit less done. What could the problem be? A, this, B, technical debt, C, this, D, this. So, let's say you are in that situation and your team is getting less and less and less done, and you're feeling like you're drowning, which is how I describe it. If you feel like you're drowning and you're getting progressively less work done, you probably have a technical debt problem. What do you do about that? What do you do about all that? I mean, obviously the answer is like, go finish it, but like, what's the actual like academic answer there?
Well, I'll give you the academic and the real answer, and I'll give you all the answers. But like, okay, first you recognize that you think like we ain't getting stuff done and we're getting worse as we go, and it's just starting to pile up, and you start to like balance it in your hand, and you're like, dude, more going back, fix and rework, is that hand's getting heavier than the actual new stuff I'm producing. That ain't good. Okay. So I've had this problem, and let me, everybody out there, like, walk with me. Imagine it's your money, which when you run your department, it is your money. You're the stewards of the money. That's what I think it is. Right. And so like, if your teams are not getting it done, you want more than anything for them to produce new stuff. And so I was in that spot building software. And when you're in that spot, spending your own money, my company, whatever, building software, and they keep having, we got to go back and fix it. We got to go back and fix it. It's like, dude, shoot. So what we had to do in that situation is stop taking on so much work now, because the technical debt and the rework are a symptom of the system. The real problem is that we don't understand the work. We're taking on too much, and we're not finishing it well because maybe we don't have the skills, the collaboration, whatever it is. Those are the real cardinal problems. So if we keep taking on stuff, never finishing it, don't deal with the symptoms, deal with the real problem. So what I did, and what they do, is we have to take on, I said, I can't keep spending money in this way. Next time we start work, we take on 25% of what we think we can do. I don't care. We'll take on 25% of what we thought. You think you can do this? Don't care. We're taking on 25%. I'm the boss. And so they're like, whoa. I'm like, if you took on 25%, could you get it done? Yeah, of course. Prove it to me, bro. What would you need to get it done right? And then whatever. In reality, like that 25% took almost the 2 weeks, because they were doing it at a ferocity and a level of depth that they didn't do it before. And it also helped them understand that we don't have the skills, and a lot of it's on me, not providing them the training, skills, support that they needed to get the work done. So do less work better, find the opportunities to get better at the work, And then you turn the volume up. Instead of, because if I say, hey, they say, hey, we can do 10 and they get 6 done, 4 of them done right, 2 of them done bad, and the rest of them whatever, they can whiz bang me with, look at these 4, don't look at these 6. If they only take on 4 and they're shoddy, they ain't got no one to hide from. And I'm not saying we're in this boat together. So like, be dramatic, take on way less than you think, get it done with like German level efficiency, with like, factory levels, like French restaurant perfection. Okay. And then we tweak from there. And you got to clean up the dirty laundry that you got before. So start parsing that in there and being like, boom, like, what can we do to clean it up, clean it up, clean it up? And then we go back to the concept of definition of done. What could get us to helping the system improve so that we don't produce shoddy stuff in the future? And it's not them versus you, it's us together. And then you get good at building stuff. That's the only way.
Man,
I know about it. That's the only way I got good at building stuff.
I love that. Well, Scott, the last thing I want to talk to you about, and I don't even know if we said that we were going to talk about this, but I feel like this is something that a lot of people want to know. So if you want to get people, like let's say you're a fire chief or you're in charge of a training section and you want to get some people through PMP, let's get down to the brass tacks. What do they need to know before they start? How much experience do they need coming in? Like if they were to go to your program or a program like yours, how long is it going to take and how much is it going to cost from start to finish? What do I need to know? How long is it going to take? Okay. How much is it going to cost?
Well, let's start.
And you don't have to, and by the way, you don't have to give me like your proprietary, whatever. Just like for people to help conceptualize, how much am I biting off if I say, okay, this is important. You've sold me. Now, how do I do it?
Right. And I would say like, do what you did initially and think about like, what am I trying to achieve with my people? Choose the right people that can go and like, we want to get better at delivering things so we can do more of it and be happier as we do it. Like, so that's like the genesis of it. If you're trying to get letters behind your name, I'll help you out, but it won't hit you in the soul deep enough. Okay. And so like, we're trying to get better at it. You don't have to be like a crazy ranting person like me, but like, that's what we're trying to drive it. So if the people out there are like, dude, I don't know project management from whatever, but I'd like to get more out the back door. Cool. Let's talk. I think that you know what you're doing, Peter, by the way, and you have a process, so they talk to you too. But like, so initially, how long it would take? A couple hours a week. The way we do it is we want to make it work for the person there because we're trying to teach you how to do it in real life. And we got to make it work for your schedule. Y'all work usually on shift work, I think. Is that how fire departments work and stuff?
Yeah, if you're in operations, you do typically a 24-hour shift. So you'll work, 10, 24-hour shifts a month usually. But a lot of times, the people that are really doing the projects are on an administrative shift, which is typically like almost like a 9 to 5. You could think about it.
9 to 5. Okay, so they're there. So we want to make it work for them. So we want to say the way it works with us is, hey, there's a certain amount of learning that we have to do. We're going to do quizzes and stuff as we go through to challenge ourselves. And the way that we operate is a very, they call it Socratic, talk back and forth. I've been yibber yabbering all the time, but it's a lot of me asking simple questions and them responding back and walking through scenarios and questions. So how long would it take? I'd say 12 weeks or less-ish if they do about 5-6 hours a week on their own, whenever the sun shines for them. And then they go to 1 or 2 calls a week with us for an hour and a half a pop. And we season to taste as we go through there. And so that we can get them to the end where they feel comfortable, confident, and ready to roll for the exam. We have them book an exam. You can take it like at a physical location or online. And then they can talk the talk, walk the walk. And as we're doing that, we're trying to like help them manifest it in their job where they take it back and kind of start using the principles. That's the best way to do it. And so our standard cost is like $19.97 per person. I mean, it may go up in the future, who knows? But like we can split up every time, whatever. We work with people. And the exam costs $675. That's just like what PMI charges. But the bigger thing is like, let's go through, let's learn on a pace that works for you. Let's make your life a little bit better and just start being like a gooder example as we start to implement stuff at the fire department, et cetera.
And one of the things I like so first of all, thank you for that. One of the things I like is we have I don't know, I guess it is a problem. We should call it what it is, where we have firefighters that their expertise is in breaking down doors, cutting holes in roofs, putting out fires, and they get promoted because they're good at that. And the next thing you know, they're in charge of managing things. And it's really challenging to find time with not as many resources as we need, which is the situation we're all in, to get your people into relevant, actionable learning that's going to help them do their job better. And yeah, you can send, you can pay for one of your guys to go back to college and finish his bachelor's, and that'll cost you, 15,000. It'll take them a year or whatever.
Yeah.
I like the PMP because does it teach you everything you need to know? No. But if you're going to look for something that is a sort of a quick start to get your people more efficient, managing
Yeah.
things and organizing work better, this is a really 12 weeks is, that's nothing. That's really
Right.
not,
Really, it is.
that's really not
I
bad.
think you're right. Like, because I have nothing against college or whatever. But like, yeah, you're right. You're taking classes that are a little slower. They're there. And honestly, I don't know. They might not be practitioners or whatever. So we want to put it on there. And then the thing that we're trying to do heavily with like organizations that come to us is create transparency, like I talked about earlier, to the people that sign the checks at the end of the day. So that you're like, yo, this is how your people are coming to class or not, they're doing their work or not. This is how they're talking. This is what we're seeing. So we have that honest, open communication with them. So they see bang for the buck and they see how it's going and they can kind of work through it. Because life will get in the way, regardless of what you're doing. And we want to trade there. Shoot, you had something. Yeah, I had something that I lost it. But
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just
Yep.
going to say, just to kind of give a real world example, we sent 7 people to start our program. We already
Yep.
have one that's got his PMP. We have one that's testing, I think, in the next 3 days. We have 2 guys that are about a week and a half, 2 weeks from testing, and another couple guys that started in a later cohort, and they'll be testing hopefully by maybe by the March timeframe. And
Yeah.
they love it. We're getting really good results, and so I think for organizations out there that are looking to, which is, this is what I'm passionate about, is how do we make
Mhm.
project management work in the fire service? Because it's working everywhere. Like a lot of other industries are doing it and it's working for them. There's no reason it can't work for us. There's obstacles that are unique to the fire service. And that's what
Sure.
I've been focusing on is like, how do we clear those obstacles? How do we get around the idea of like conflating, incident command with project management, or how do we get around
Yeah.
our shift schedules or whatever? But if you're looking for a way to create that pipeline to get your people through, you know, this is something that we've been working on. We've sent 7 people through, and hopefully by the end of early summer we'll have them all through. So yeah, I don't want to go on and on about it, but I
No, I think
think
that's
this
good. And
is
like you said something like earlier, you said like we have a problem, meaning y'all's industry. I don't think the problem is unique to you. About like, oh, we put the people that are good at putting holes in walls or whatever you were saying, like putting out fires, then get into management. That's everywhere, dude.
yeah,
The guy that's good at welding eventually becomes the guy that's managing welding departments and stuff
yeah,
like that. The dude that makes souffles becomes the restaurant guy. Like this is life.
yeah.
And so the
Good
same
point.
thing is like, how do we use the talents? And it's like, are we putting enough focus to like, what can we do in the most engaging, proactive way to help them be prepared to excel at that new challenge? Because I bet you, like my brother-in-law's a Navy SEAL, they put a tremendous amount of, you know, training into all different levels, like wild amounts. Like at the operator level, I know nothing, but like, and then at the leadership level and all these things. So it's like, what do we need to do? And I think that's one of the blind eyes, even that I have, as like building up teams. It's like, dude, what do I need to do to train these folks for the new challenges that they have with the most utility of money, the most value bang? I'm not selling. I'm just telling you, like, this is like, these are doors that we uncover and we open up and go like, dang, I didn't think about that. That's all we're trying to do is get a little bit better by putting the right focus on stuff and eliminating waste.
Nice. All right, Scott, I just want to say I'm so grateful for you taking the time to do this. I got one final question. If
There you
people
go.
like what they hear and they want to listen to more of what you're talking about, I know you have some books, I know you've written some articles. Where should people go if they want to hear more about what you're talking about?
I have a podcast as well. It's like just type in PMP Scott Payne or PMP exam prep with Scott Payne, something like that. It'll come up all the places. So look for me there. I mean, you can call me on telephone if you want to. 757-759-5282. I live in Virginia Beach. I give my phone number to everybody. Hadn't messed me up yet, but I'll talk to you wherever you want to. I got tons of stuff on YouTube. I'm an open book. I'm excited to help. You're doing magical stuff, Peter. I'm so proud of you. Keep it going.
How many people are willing to put their phone number out on a podcast and say, "Give me a call and I'll talk to you"?
Yeah,
That's
dude.
cool, man.
I don't get that many spam calls. It's weird. I get.
You've
Here's the
never given
thing.
your phone number to firefighters yet.
Oh yeah, whatever. I'm cool with that. Like the people, if the more you talk to me about like the more you put out there, the more you get back. In the sense, I don't know, dude. I got stabbed February 2nd. I can't remember what year. I should probably know that. Almost died. Like Who gives a like, let's just go. Like,
Yeah,
lay
I
it out
hear
there.
you.
I didn't name the company All In for like marketing purposes. I never thought about that. It's like, yo, if we're going to do this, let's just do it. So you want to call me? I mean, let's go. Let's talk. Yeah, I'm cool.
Scott Payne, thank you so much for your time, my friend.
It was a 2 coffee cup conversation, bro. So I drank 2 cups of coffee, big